Hi, Caleb with Brownells here, and in today's quick tip, we're going to be installing the 1022 trigger pins from KIDD. Now, these come in a few different flavors. You have the one we're going to be focusing on here, which is a pretty interesting product. Get them out the packaging here. It's a pin that goes through, but unlike your factory pins, or any of the other aftermarket pins I've seen, honestly, these have a screw that set in there. And what these are for here, let me unscrew this. So if you're not familiar, the trigger group on your 1022, or in our case the BRN22, is held in with pins. And whenever you take your gun apart with the factory pins, they tend to fall out. They're easy to lose, different things like that. These are precision ground, and they fit in there nice and tight, and of course they screw in. And the great thing about it is when the screws are in, you don't need to use Loctite or anything like that, because the stock will hold the screws in and keep them from backing out, which is great. Alright, so I know what you may be thinking. You're looking at this and you're saying, Caleb, there's no room for a screw head there because the stock won't fit. And you're absolutely right. So what you have to do to install these is countersink that hole a little bit so the head of the screw will recess down in there. The tricky thing about this is, what angle do I use, what tool do I use, all that stuff. But that's not tricky because KIDD includes the actual countersink you need at the correct angle. The only thing you got to be careful of is the depth, but it's really easy to do. And let's get started. So what I like to do first, you could probably do this with the bolts and everything in there, but we're going to take it out because those metal shavings, we want to make sure we get all those out. Take all that stuff out of there. All right. So what I'm going to use is a pin vise. And it's just a collet that clamps to round stuff. I'm going to drop this in there, tighten it down, and we're ready to start cutting. So this receiver is nitrided aluminum. Will probably be just fine, but we're gonna add a little bit of oil. I'll just put a drop there. And we will start cutting. Well, before I do that, I'm going to kind of show you here. That's how far our screw sticks up, if you can see that there. I don't need the oil on the surface, I just need it inside, so. It's not much, so we don't have to cut very far, especially on these BRN22 receivers, because they already have a bit of a chamfer on those holes. And we're just going to start cutting. It's going to sound a little crunchy while you're getting through that anodizing, which is perfectly fine. And once you get through it, it's cutting nice and smooth. Alright, that was about maybe 3 rotations of the tool there. It's a nice sharp tool, cuts really clean. Drop our screw head in. It's still sticking up a bit, so we'll go a bit further. And that's all you got to do is just trial and error. Just cut it a little bit. You can see the actual countersink getting cut into there. We'll wipe off our tool here. And always turn this tool clockwise. We'll go a bit further with it. And then check it again. And it's still sticking up just a bit. So the good thing about this is, once you have one done, you'll be able to see how deep it is and then just cut the other ones close to that, and you don't have to keep trying and doing this whole process here. And for what we're doing, there's plenty of meat on this receiver, so you gotta really want to overcut it to overcut it. And just make sure you're putting a nice downward pressure while you're turning clockwise. And that's really close. I'm going to go just a hair further on that. Put a little bit of more oil on our tool. And that is right about flush or just below it, so that's perfect. So all we need to do there is repeat that process on the other 3 holes. All right, let's continue. Alright, so you just need to make sure you get rid of all those metal shavings. Don't need any of those in the action here. If you have some compressed air or canned air or anything like that, now's a good time to use it. But just make sure you watch your eyeballs when you do that there. Okay, and that's what we look like right there. Nice and countersunk for those screw heads on both sides. Alright, and if you wanted to blacken it, I'm sure you could use aluminum black or something like that. We got plenty of oil on there, so we're not worried about it at all. Okay, so let's, I'm going to throw this bolt back in, and I'll show you how to install them real quick. Throw this bolt buffer in real quick. Alright, so once you have your bolts and your bolt buffer back in place, we can go ahead and reinstall that trigger group. So we'll just, I'll actually throw this back in the vise here. Alright. So what you can actually do is just take one of the screws, thread it on all the way, and take the open end, line that up with your trigger group, and push it in as far as it'll go. Alright, we'll do the same thing with the other pin. And you don't have to install the rear one first, you can do front, you know, whatever. Slide it on in. Okay, so now it also comes with a couple of Allen wrenches here. So what we'll do is take one screw, put it on our wrench, take our other wrench, put that on the screw that we already installed onto the post. And we will just thread them on together. Make everything nice and snug. All right. And do the same thing with the other one. And all you're doing is just turning these two wrenches against each other to tighten down those screws. And that's all there is to it. All right. So from here, you can see that everything's cut nice and flush. That's what we want to see. All right. So if you have any questions, comments, you have any experience with this product, and you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to post them down below. If you need any more help getting your 1022 or BRN22 back together, check out the rest of the videos. We have a lot of resources for that already. And if you're watching this on the website, or if you just need help with anything, feel free to give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.